When cold air passes over the relatively warm waters of Lake Michigan, the contrast in temperatures creates a visual spectacle. As cold, dry air moves over the lake and mixes with the warmer, moist air rising off the lake surface, it transforms the water vapour into fog, a phenomenon known as steam fog. The Great Lakes of North America hold a fifth of the world's fresh water, and they're also one of the most popular areas for sailing. One summer night in 1978, Kathy Doore discovered that the gentle waters of Lake Michigan were not quite so gentle. What happened that evening challenged her conventional view of reality. On a warm July evening in 1978, Kathy went sailing on a clear night where the waves were slightly choppy and the weather was fairly warm. As it began to get dark, the calm seas started to become strange and mysterious when they encountered fog. The strange fog had just descended upon them where, in an instant, it had engulfed the boat. Now unable to see anything around them, they feared they might have a crash. At that point, the previously warm weather had changed and was now very, very cold. In fact, she was now freezing. The boat had somehow disappeared into a void. It was frightening enough to be caught in a strange mist, but the boat began to dance around as if it were pirouetting on its axis. Strangely though, there was no movement coming from the sea, and it had not been caught in a whirlpool as such. She looked at the captain and said, "Who's steering the vessel?" And he replied, "It's steering itself." The boat then made three 360-degree turns, and as quickly as the fog appeared, it suddenly vanished, and they were able to regain control of the boat. They immediately headed back to shore. As Kathy checked her watch, she was shocked to find that it was now after midnight, where it should have only been about 10 p.m. They had somehow lost 2 hours. So how did they lose 2 hours? What should have been a pleasant evening cruise had turned into a mysterious nightmare. For Kathy Doore, it was the most extraordinary thing that had ever happened to her. But this was not the first weird event to have happened on Lake Michigan. There have been many other unexplained mysteries that have happened on Lake Michigan. The first major unexplained event was the disappearance of the French sailing ship Le Griffon in the 17th century, or the disappearance of Flight 2501, where the aircraft was at approximately 3,500 feet over Lake Michigan when flight controllers lost radio contact with it. Witnesses reported hearing engine sputtering noises and a flash of light. Divers were unable to locate the plane's wreckage. Other incidents were ghost ships appearing out of nowhere and thousands of UFO sightings. There was another strange incident that took place in Lake Michigan in 1978, the same year that Kathy Doore had had her incident, when a young man by the name of Stephen Kubacki, 23, went cross-country skiing on the frozen ice of the lake and never came back. 2 snowmobilers discovered his skis, poles and backpack, and after an exhaustive search determined the college student must have fallen into one of the deep crevasses in the ice and drowned. His family and friends mourned his death. His college held a memorial service. 15 months later, a motorist in Massachusetts picked up a hitchhiker who asked to be taken to the nearest payphone. It was Stephen Kubacki. He told his family and friends that he'd woken up in a nearby field, wearing clothes he didn't recognise, and that he had no recollection of what happened to him on the lake or in the months that followed. Kubacki's miraculous appearance made national headlines for a few days, but when he declined all interviews, the story faded from public attention. Was Stephen the victim of the mysterious fog of Lake Michigan, or a UFO abduction? How did he end up 710 miles away in a Massachusetts field? Could the missing time that Kathy Doore experienced in 1978 be attributed to these other mysterious events, or is there a scientific explanation for what she experienced? A pilot by the name of Bruce Gurnham offered his own theory as to what happened, and that Kathy and the captain had possibly experienced electronic fog. He said that sometimes various magnetic fields from the Earth collide in powerful freak thunderstorms over remote bodies of water, such as Lake Michigan, and this results in a metallic, highly charged fog. The fog has been known to actually chase vessels and try to capture them. Once it captures them, it clings to them, and the people become disoriented because it doesn't make sense, and they become confused. They haven't realised that it's attached to them, and they think they're moving in the fog, but in effect the fog is moving with them. Electronic fog is magnetically attracted to metal objects like ships and aeroplanes that in turn wreaks havoc on their navigational controls as well as other properties. The fog has an electromagnetic energy within it that can become extremely powerful, which in turn can affect the fabric of time itself. Could time-warping fog actually exist, and can this theory be proved scientifically? NASA had discovered something in certain types of thunderstorms, and it appears at the top of the storm emitting antimatter created by massive lightning within a storm. Antimatter produces 10,000 times more power than nuclear energy. Some scientists have speculated that this sort of power could open doors to new dimensions of time and space. Could this NASA discovery be related to the electronic fog that Kathy Doore had experienced? Bruce Gernon said that he himself was once enveloped by the electronic fog, where one of them captured his plane as it was flying over the Bermuda Triangle, where amazingly it somehow travelled 300 miles in only 10 minutes. That should have been impossible in a small plane, because to travel that distance in 10 minutes means he would have to have been flying at around 2,000 miles an hour. What was even more strange was that when he returned to Palm Beach International Airport to top up the fuel tanks, he found that on the particular flight it used 10 gallons less fuel than it normally had, and it made that journey dozens of times. Could the answer lie in ley lines? Ley lines are a matrix of magnetic pathways crisscrossing the Earth that can create vortexes of energy and manifest as the paranormal. Certain cultures call ley lines different things, such as the ancient Chinese, who call them dragon lines, and Australian Aboriginals call them dreaming tracks, and they can also be called earth currents, where the Earth is like a giant magnet which has a north pole and a south pole of magnetic energy, and that energy is created by the rotating, swirling magma inside the Earth, which is also magnetic. Planet Earth has magnetic lines running all through it and has its own special energy, where these magnetic lines cross and come together in certain powerful areas geometrically scattered around our planet. That these vortexes of energy are activated and become portals or doorways to other time-space dimensions. Does it explain what happened to Kathy and her boat on Lake Michigan, where one of these vortexes became activated and the fog came in and surrounded the boat, and suddenly you're not in the same place? Could Kathy Doore and the captain have travelled to a different dimension? Have other people over the years encountered these same vortexes but never came back? In 1979, Jeffrey Richardson, a US security analyst, attempted to find the truth behind a mysterious event known as the Vela incident. On the 22nd of September 1979, a US satellite designed to detect nuclear explosions spotted from its high-altitude orbit a double flash optic signal originating somewhere in the vast areas of the South Atlantic and Indian Ocean. The double flash created anxiety for US national security. What was the source of this signal? Had a nation secretly detonated a nuclear weapon and likely violated the Limited Test Ban Treaty? If so, who had done it? Or was it a technical malfunction or a natural celestial phenomenon? The White House started calling in advisors and rushed CIA agents to the area in military planes equipped with sensitive radiation detectors. However, they detected no radiation, and it was a mystery. So what would cause a giant flash of light so powerful it could be seen 70,000 miles away? In the end, US government agencies never arrived at a consensus, nor produced a public statement. The studies that had inspired the debate remained classified and were locked behind the walls of government secrecy. At present, the public debate remains open, lacking a smoking gun, and the relevant documents for the Vela incident are still classified.